solutions, challenges and opportunities in coastal Bangladesh. So it's a mass have been told already. Climate change and Bangladesh. We know we are the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change, and the rank is 7th in the world. And in different research, different reports, it has been mentioned that we are having a great loss to the different climate calamities, and it worth 3.72 billion according to a report from Greenwich Mass 2021. So consequences of climate change, and we all are very aware of it, and there is not much to talk about it. Global temperature increase, meltdown of polar ice, glaciers, sea level rise, increase in salinity, irregular rainfall, health hazard, biodiversity loss, ecosystem degradation, and so much. But the scenarios of coastal areas or the coastal crisis we will consider is totally different from the other part of the world. We can say, due to the groundwater being saline and surface water contaminated at the time of storm surge, salinity, the increase of salinity both in the ground and the water is very alarming. And due to the erratic rainfall and increased length of dry season, causes seasonal drought. And a report recently shows that the agriculture is decreasing every year by 3.45% on an average, and the study is basically the area was Shatkhira. Livelihood scopes are declining due to spreading salinity in the coastal area. And the alarming is that the migration increased from the coastal area, and if we consider our latest population census, we will find that the male people are decreasing, while the female are increasing. So what is nature-based solution? A lot of has been already discussed. Nature-based solutions are sustainable and cost-effective approaches that use the power of nature to address environmental challenges. So, in this era of climate change, if we consider adaptation, we need to consider so many things. And in that case, nature-based solutions can be the best option for us to cope with climate change calamities. So what are the opportunities in coastal area? Once Edward Davis says, growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of cancer cell. We don't want such type of growth. We want sustainable growth. For the growth which will ensure livelihood security, rights, and basic needs of the people. So here are a lot of opportunities if we consider ecosystem services. Mangroves as natural barrier, wetland for water purification, then climate resilience, economic benefits, and then ensure green growth. So here the most important thing is that a lot of areas are covered with the mangrove Sundarbans in the coastal area. And if we consider conserving it or restoring it, then it will provide a multidimensional opportunities or facilities to the local community. Because if we can manage, or if we can just ensure the restoration of mangrove, then it will provide shelter for a lot of biodiversity, and it will provide food, it will provide livelihood options for the local communities. But the real scenario is that we from the grassroots, we know that the resource collector from the Sundarban, they are facing a quite difficulty in their lives because they are losing their forefathers' occupations. They can't just collect, or they can't just go with what they did in the past because the resources are being destroyed. And in the both ways, the Sundarbans are getting affected by their activities. So main consideration I would like to say in case of nature-based solution. First of all, it is community engagement. Then capacity building on adaptation and mitigation. Then low-cost solutions. We will know that a lot of solutions in the natural-based solutions are quite low-cost. Then knowledge management, sustainable resource management, then biodiversity conservation, then collaboration. It can be local, national, and international. Then ownership and empowerment, and policy advocacy. These are the main point of consideration if we want to successfully implement nature-based solution in any areas, not just the coastal areas. Embedding NBS in the existing policies of Bangladesh. We know we have a lot of policies, and recently we have Mujib Climate Prosperity Plan, the National Adaptation Plan, and all of those policies somehow represent or emphasize nature-based solution to tackle or to fight climate change calamities. And we would like to implement those, and in the future, if we want sustainable development or sustainable solution, then our policies should be more specific and more clarity with how nature-based solution and topics like local-led adaptation can be addressed and can be implemented in the ground level. So pursuing of SDGs. We know if we can successfully implement different interventions of nature-based solution, then a lot of SDGs can be achieved. And it can be done by proper implementation and management of our existing policies. But there are a lot of challenges if we want to implement nature-based solution. First challenge is that the gap in providing patient finance. This is the most important challenge we always face because we don't have patient finance in implementing those interventions. And ignoring the essential knowledge and expertise of the local actors is another challenge because we know the grassroots people have a vast knowledge, but in most of the cases their knowledges are being ignored to formulate different policies or to formulate different adaptation projects. Lack of coordination between ministries and implementing bodies responsible for adaptation interventions leading to poor implementation. Sometimes we see that the coordination is lacking in case of ministries and the bodies who will implement those policies. Gap in the comprehensive understanding on the concept of NBS and how those policies should work at the local government level. It's a concern that only the NGOs or the non-government organizations can't implement all the activities. and can change the fate of the local community. So our local government need to be empowered, and they need comprehensive understanding of what we are talking here. Limited human resources to establish monitoring, evaluation, planning process to assess the effectiveness of NBS interventions. And there are some other challenges like capacity building, alternative livelihood opportunities, smooth and transparent financing, or context-specific interventions. And these are very simple implementation challenges where we regularly face in our coastal areas. The frequency and magnitude of extreme weather events are increasing day by day. Fragile infrastructure of the coast, then limited resources compared to the number of vulnerable people, overlapping of geo and geo services in the coastal area, then migration of people from the coastal area. These are the common challenges we actually face when we try to launch or implement any projects there. There are some recommendations. It can be a lot than this, but in short, integrated planning, we need it very clearly. Then capacity building, research and innovation, because harnessing technology for sustainable solution is a must. Then translating commitments to actions. This is the last thing I would like to say, because we commit a lot, and in reality, there are very less we can implement. It is time we start implementing our commitments. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Kaushik Roy from Leaders. Now we will go for discussion. For discussion, Professor Dr. Mahinder Kumar Slaria. Can you hear me, Professor Dr. Mahinder Kumar Slaria? Department of Higher Education, Government of Himachal Pradesh, India. Dr. Mahinder Kumar Slaria. Our second discussion, Dr. Saptoshi Mitra. Can you hear me, Dr. Saptoshi?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir.
Join our discussion session and please give your comments.
Thank you, Chair, for inviting me for this session. A very important few points we discussed by the present the lead speaker, and few things I have to comment. So, how much time? Over there, 2 minutes time I can get.
Maximum 5 minutes.
Okay. So, a very important thing at last he mentioned that is the local empowerment. So that empowerment process started last 4 or 5 decades of the developing process of the developing countries. Now this is the question that whether this local empowerment can enrich these kinds of the ability to grow the ability of to resist the disaster, resist the climate as a phenomenon at the local level. So the climate, I'm listening this conference during last session. That is this micro level climate change. It's very important thing nowadays. So this is a challenge for the local level, and most of the local level authority did not show us any kinds of positive continuous process positive continuous process to resist these kinds of microclimatic change. It's a failure. We have to accept. We have to do lots of things for this to empower the local bodies, majorly the urban or the rural or both the rural and urban bodies. But the case studies are showing that they fail to resist these things, and they sometimes create much more dangerous impacts to create the microclimatic change. This is my opinion through observation and for different types of field visit of many places. So that is a challenge in the method, in which method the speaker said that the local empowerment is very important to mitigate the thing. So whether this can be fulfilled and with the traditional knowledge, or it required both the traditional knowledge and also the technological advancement.
The Kishoreganj district is situated in northeastern Bangladesh and affected by climate change. Due to climate change, livelihood, fisheries, resources, crop production and fish habitat are directly affected in Kishoreganj district. This is my study area map. My objective is studying to explore multi-hazard vulnerability and impact of climate change on livelihood of the communities in Itna and Mitamoin Upazila. Methodology. Here I am using three methods for data collection: household survey, focus group discussion, and key informative interview. For climate vulnerability analysis, for time series analysis, I am using rainfall, temperature, and heat wave, cold wave. And for disaster vulnerability analysis, using multi-hazard vulnerability index for normalizing procedure. This is the rainfall and temperature graph that represents 1992 to 2022. The observed values of annual average rainfall and temperature showed increasing trend in Kishoreganj district. The trend line of heat wave and cold wave days last 30 years showed an increasing trend in Kishoreganj district. This is the flood vulnerability map. Here we can see that Itna and Mitamoin Upazila are fall in very high vulnerable zone. And on the other map, riverbank erosion last 30 years, 47 square kilometer erosion occurred in Kishoreganj district. Now result and discussion. According to the respondent opinion, the disaster trend of the study area last 5 years: flood, flash flood, heavy rainfall, drought, heat wave, cold wave, thunderstorm showed an increasing trend. This is the multi-hazard vulnerability map. The red color zone represents high vulnerable. Here we can see that most of the union of Itna and Mitamoin Upazila are highly vulnerable. The hazard calendar of the study area illustrated that almost all the year this area is susceptible to different type of disaster. Flood, heat wave, heavy rainfall, thunderstorm are longer for more than six months. Based on perception of respondent, a composite disaster impact matrix was developed. Gender livelihoods are highly vulnerable for both Itna and Mitamoin Upazila. A climate-induced extreme impact on demography. The household level climate vulnerable group. 82% responded viewed that people living with disabilities are more vulnerable due to climate, followed by women 62% and elderly people 44%. Among the climate vulnerable of occupational group, fishermen, farmer, and day laborer are highest vulnerable group. An FGD participant of fishermen mentioned that they do not have fishing opportunity during dry season. On the other hand, during rainy season, flood, flash flood, and storm will restrict their fishing opportunities. And this is the overall scenario of livelihood in both Itna and Mitamoin Upazila. Itna is more vulnerable than Mitamoin in the sector of agriculture, land loss, unemployment, and social insecurity. On the other hand, gender discrimination, education drop rates are highest in Mitamoin Upazila. This is the most vulnerable agriculture sector. The homestead vegetables are more vulnerable due to cold wave, fog, groundwater depletion, and flood. Robicals are highly vulnerable for cold wave and fog, and medium vulnerable for groundwater depletion, flood, and heavy rainfall, and so on. Climate-induced extreme impact on health. Suffer from diseases in ITNA, 52% respondents said that they suffer from various types of diseases, and in Metaman 48%. This is the overall scenario of suffer from respondent various types of diseases. Fever, cold, and dysentery are higher in the time of flood, and during HCT with women and KII with Upazila Health Complex, they noted that infertility and reproduction rate, reproduction problem, premature deliveries are now growing increasing trend. Climate-induced extreme impact on wash. 45% responded depend on river and haud for drinking water. But in summer season and winter season, January to May, especially, there remain water scarcity because of groundwater depletion and drying up haud. This is my recommendation for climate resilient strategy in the study area. These are the references. Thank you.
In the next few minutes, I will be presenting a comprehensive analysis that explores the nexus between two vital elements of the environment, the NDVI and USAID, Urban Hinterland. Before starting, I want to thank my other co-authors, Naimur Rahman, Sujan Sheikh, and Afsana Mimi. Dhaka is the blasting capital of Bangladesh, which has been witnessing tremendous population expansion in last 15 years, where we have seen from 1974 to 2021, population has increased 11.2 times from 2 million people to 23 million people, and where the area expanded only 3.82 times from 401 square kilometers to 1528 square kilometers. To serve the large population, the land under vegetation cover is changing into human settlement, farm, industry, etc. The main aim of this study is to find out the relationship between vegetation cover and temperature. This study is to find out how temperature depends on the vegetation. To fulfill this aim, here my main objective of this study is to explore the normalized difference vegetation index to investigate land surface temperature through urban heat island. We have selected different years in last 10 years interval from 2003 to 2023. Here is my study area. We have selected Uttara as our study area. In 1966, Dhaka Improvement Trust planned to build a settlement town under North Satellite Town in Dhaka. In 1980, DIT changed the project name to Uttara Residential Model Town. Project. Uttara has the largest population of 180 lakhs people with a small area and considered as one of the richest neighborhood of Dhaka city. Methodology. To conduct this study, our methodology was firstly to collect the Landsat satellite image of 2003, 2013, 2021 and all the data level 1 data of Landsat TM satellite 8. Then analyze NDVI and urban internal USIs to see the land use change to addressing temperature. This analysis was done by ArcGIS Pro and Indus-Imagine. Result and discussion. If we see the result, after analysis we have found that in the 2003, the vegetation cover was around 2003 acres and minimum temperature was recorded 13.72 degrees Celsius and highest temperature was recorded about 17.05 degrees Celsius. Where in 2013 the vegetation cover decreased from 2003 to 69.83 degrees acres and the minimum temperature was 19.73 and maximum temperature was 23.04, where in next 10 years the vegetation cover decreased to 51.82 acres and the maximum temperature was increased in 24.58 degrees Celsius. Here we can see the graphical representation of that how the vegetation cover decrease by the time and temperature range is going to increase. We have seen here the negative correlation between temperature and vegetation cover. Here is the resultant discussion. I already discussed about that. The research outcome demonstrates how NDVI and urban heat islands negatively correlated in three different times. Here NDVI shows up the urban sprawling settlements and increasing vegetation cover, reducing was clearly indicated the urban heat island zoning map. In this urban heat island zoning map, we have seen the relationship between temperature and vegetation. It mainly happened for concrete the structure which retains the solar heat for a long time and takes much time to radiate. That's why we have seen the variation in urban heat island. So in conclusion, it can be said that infrastructure and economic development is very much mandatory, but it is caused climate change, human health issues, and other type of serious problem for the future world. And the development is where is must needed, so it should be in a proper planning, and that planning can help us to temperature remain in a comfort zone for the future world and us to living.
I'm here to present my research work on the emerging issues in the context of climate change. The title of my research topic is Development in Drought Resilience and Climate Sensitivity of Geological Reserves at three sites along environmental and ecosystem gradients. As we have all gathered here for addressing the crucial issues of climate change in South Asian countries, there has been an immense impact of climate change in Bangladesh as well. Global climate change has been figures around the world, and such impacts are predicted to be intensified under the effects of climate change. As we all know, Bangladesh faces various types of extreme climatic events such as cyclones, floods, drought, extreme precipitation, heat waves, etc. Among them, recently there has been an increasing frequency in drought, which is altering the total forest dynamics and carbon balance of the tropical forests along with mass mortality, and it has also declined sea growth. So it's quite necessary to understand the progress of trees to extreme drought events and climate anomalies to focus the future sea growth to understand the climate change scenarios better. For my study, I have determined three objectives. The first objective is to develop renewed chronologies of the Zermatta from three study sites, which are Ramakananda Wildlife Sanctuary, Lhasa National Park, and Kappa National Park. The second objective is to evaluate the growth response of Zermatta over 1999 and 46 drought events and compare the drought resilience of the species at three sites and between two drought events. And finally, the third objective is to investigate the sensitivity of the to annual climate anomalies at three study sites. The study sites we selected, which are Ramakananda Wildlife Sanctuary, which is comparatively drier site compared to the other sites, which has an elevation of 367 millimeters, and the Kappa National Park is comparatively the more wet site and the clear site, and Lhasa National Park is the most disturbed site. We have selected the species Zermatta mesa because it is an endangered species in the tropical countries, and it also has a tendency of helping to medicinal values and other uses. It is widely used for commercially in the tropical areas. For the collection of spores, we used 5.3 mm instrument borer. We collected 134 spores from 67 trees. We collected 186 spores from 93 trees from Lhasa National Park. We collected 124 spores from 62 trees from Kappa National Park. After collecting the spores, we keep them in the folders, and in the laboratory, we sanded them with sanding papers until the anatomical details of the spore were visible. After that, we scanned the spores so that we can get the better images from the spores, so that we can see the anatomical details of the spores. After that, we used spore recorder and seed software for detection. After detection of rings, we used detection software for cross-breeding, and after cross-breeding, we developed individual unit series. Here is an image of scans the Luzerne website, which we can see the clear tree rings, which is directed from peak to bar. There is an image of the process procedure on the discipline software of the Luzerne website. We collected climate data from Sungu Station and climate data from Rangan Station of the Kaptai National Park. We compared STEI, maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and precipitation for the identification of the drought year. Comparing the four data, we can see that the year 1999 and 2006 shows the similar characteristics, so that we can say both the years are have severe drought. In this graph, we can see that the red dotted areas indicate the dry season of the year and the blue dotted areas indicate the wet season of the year. We can see that in the middle image, the year 1999 and the last year 2006 both had a longer period of dry season and quite little amount of wet season. So we can say that the 1999 and 2006 were both drought years. For comparison of drought resilience, we use four parameters, which are resistance, recovery, resilience, and resilience. And we use RStudio software and Excel for the statistical analysis. For the first time in Bangladesh, we developed the longest chronology of 27 restaurants, which was 93 years. In the next picture, we can see that the color area shows the chronologies of the trees, and the shaded color area shows the standard deviation of the chronology. The gray shaded area shows the sample depth of the chronologies, and the percentage line shows the two drought years, 1999 and 2006. In the right picture, we can see the growth difference of the Luzerne vista from street side to side. After that, we compared the growth response of the Luzerne vista with local climate. We compared four parameters, which are maximum temperature, minimum temperature, mean average temperature, and precipitation. We found strong negative significant relation with the growth response with the maximum temperature. Similar results with minimum temperature, and with precipitation we found the significant positive relation with growth response of the Luzerne. After comparing the local climate to the growth response, we compared the regional climate with the growth response of the Luzerne. From the regional climate data, we found some spatial correlation of the Luzerne with the STEI, maximum temperature and minimum temperature. From the Luzerne from Lhasa National Park, we found positive relationship with STEI and precipitation. From the Luzerne of Kaptai National Park, we found positive relation with precipitation and STEI, and found negative relation with maximum temperature and vapor pressure. Comparing the growth patterns during the drought season, we can see that the average future growth of Luzerne vista in the local century dropped by 31%, both in 1999 and 2006. The growth of Luzerne vista dropped by 40% and 33%, specifically in the 1999 and 2006 drought season. And the growth of Luzerne vista dropped by 46% and 35% during the drought years 1999 and 2006. So, comparing the resilience components of the Luzerne vista of three satellites, the blue one indicates the Kaptai National Park, the red one indicates Lhasa National Park, and the silver indicates Remakola National Wildlife Sanctuary. So, in the resistance component, we can see that the Luzerne vista from Remakola Wildlife Sanctuary had the highest resistance in drought year 1999, and the Luzerne vista from Kaptai National Park had highest resistance in the drought year 2006. Similarly, on the contrary, on the recovery section, we found that the Luzerne vista from Kaptai National Park had higher recovery in the drought year 1999, and the Luzerne vista from Lhasa National Park had higher recovery in the drought year 2006. We can find the same results on the resilience and the resilience as well. So, the major findings from my study were the rainfall chances of Luzerne vista were concentrated well, containing the high index value of 0.85. The pre-monsoon temperature, which is maximum and minimum temperature, had a stronger influence on the triggers at all three sites. Precipitation had minimum impact on the triggers Remakola and KNP, but no significant impact on Lhasa National Park. We also found that drought significantly reduced the trigger of all sites, ranging from 25% to 46% growth reduction. And we saw that drought resistance recovery and resilience varies among the sites depending on the variability of rainfall and drought severity. We saw that the sites which have the high rainfall had the more recovery and resilience than the sites with lower rainfall. And in the document 2006, we saw that sites with high reservoir quality have benefited from the lower competition for water and nutrients and became more drought resilient. So finally, I would like to conclude by saying that the considerable decrease in the tree growth during the drought years has been significantly affecting the whole global carbon cycle. In addition, the decreasing tree growth and the amount of fixed carbon are due to the extending dry season can also reach the tree mortality of tree species that are listed as the soil resistant scientific technology for the lavender facility.
We have conducted a study on this Buriganga River. We have conducted chemical oxygen demand (COD), biochemical oxygen demand (BOD), TSS (total suspended solid), TDS (total dissolved solid), and the total dissolved oxygen. Those were calculated and examined in this study. We also calculate the air quality analysis of the Buriganga River, and the key pollutants were NO2 and SO2. And those were calculated and examined in the study also. We all know that since last decade, the Buriganga River was in an imminent threat, and the threats were caused by fast industrialization, urbanization, pollution growth, and waste disposal. These were the most common culprits of this current condition of this river's ecosystem, and the effects of the Buriganga River ecosystems where the flora plants, the fauna, the microorganisms, the abiotic factors, those were breaking down, and eventually the river ecosystem was going through a lot of struggle. And in this study, we have selected the suckerfish, and suckerfish is right now the national crisis of Bangladesh. We can say that. It is not still national crisis, but it will be in future in 2 or 3 years because the suckerfish is available in every fisherman's net nowadays. This is a threat to fish diversity, and the government already issued the final notification for banning this suckerfish. This suckerfish is very food competitive and very space competitive. If we think about other fish diversity in Buriganga River. This is my study area. This is the study area of Buriganga River, and we all know the source of life at the Buriganga River is dependent on plants, elements, and microbes. And I have already discussed about the threats and imminent causes. Now, for this objective of the study, I just selected some goals. The first goal is to determine which aspects of the habitat encourages fish production. The second goal is nature-based solution to restore fish diversity and fish habitat enhancement. And the third is to derive chlorophyll index from satellite data. And the fourth one is to derive river surface temperature from satellite data, which is satellite imagery. The fifth one is utilizing the habitat sustainability index, which is SI, to identify the possible fishing areas. And the sixth one is the usage of Doppler effect to start. The third one is the river surface estimation. The emissivity was computed through these following equations with the Landsat 8 imagery. And the restoration and calculation, it's still in ongoing process. We haven't completed this yet. Will soon. Now let's talk about the fifth one, the band spectral radiance of chlorophyll index. And the second 5.2 is air quality analysis of NO2 SO2. These only just implemented the NO2 SO2 records. Those were examined by those were examined to find out the historical impacts of Buriganga River. And the sixth one is the habitat sustainability index formation, which is the sustainability impacts, which shows the levels of records that are stored in the preferred ranges for fish. Now let's talk about the data set. We can see the river data, which is done in parallel sessions. The first one is the restoration calculation. Parallelly, I have done this in Landsat and data imagery. And the restoration was was about to bring out the habitat sustainability value, and the Landsat imagery also brought out the image processing, and the chlorophyll index was extracted from this workflow. And this is the habitat workflow. This is the Landsat HTR. This is the radiometric calibration. These are very scientific abbreviation. It's too hard. I just simplified it into this diagram. This is the retrieval RST. Then I computed into this PT composition. Then RST calculation was formed, and it was a chain reaction. So the band spectral radiance was giving outcomes in a chain order. So the band spectral radiance of the chlorophyll index was recorded. Then I finally revisited the habitat information index. This is the sample TDS. I just had the data, so I just placed it there. This is the total dissolved solid, and this is the total suspended solid. And let's talk about the discussion. If we just get it, this is the RST, the fish habitat appropriate indexes. In this study, the satellite derivative environment factors and cage data, it was discovered that the region with reverse surface temperature was recorded in between 26 degree to 28.3 degrees Celsius. And the chlorophyll index, the chlorophyll concentration was in between 0.72 to 1.31 milligram per meter cube, accounted for over 80% of the total catch. So you can see the air quality analysis. I just put it in graphical formattation. This is the NO2 and SO2 of the before restriction and after restriction. The red one is the before restriction, and the green one is the after restriction. And if we just compare those two things, and we can see the before restriction is below the radiant, and the after restriction is above the radiant. And let's go to the SO2 of the air quality analysis. We have done this calculation on the basis of daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And here we can also see the three bands: the before restriction, after restriction, and the mean between after restriction, before restriction. Now let's talk about the future scope of study. Since the study is still going, we'll conduct the COD, BOD turbidity as well as soon as possible as I'm free. And this is the future scope of study. We'll just calculate all of the air pollutant that is surrounding around the Buriganga River. This is the whole pollutant I have just calculated, gathered, and put it in this machine language format using RStudio. And let's go to the conclusion. This study will give us some. This conclusion will take us to somewhere. The areas will be classified, and the classified areas can be characterized for next phase of the study. The fish behavior and population analysis will be done using the Doppler effect. It's not still eminent yet, but we are still working on it. It's in test phase. Now the invading species can be green zoned, and they can be reduced by mass fishing approach, and the process can be introduced and repeated. It's not only just one process; it should be repeated, so that the eminent sucker fish just get reduced day by day. And the amount of nutrients, chlorophylls, and the lake surface temperature of Buriganga can be green zones for the fish habitat indexing. And we can say that after, if we just take this phase and work on it, in 5 or 10 years, we can still talk about the biodiversity, the fish diversity of Bangladesh, or the sucker fish will just invade all of them species, and there will be nothing for our children and grandchildren. There will be no fish for them, just only pictures.
This is the assessment of the noise pollution, JKKNIO, and its impact and solution of climate change. I will discuss about it into major three parts. First of one is noise pollution of Bangladesh. Second is its impact of our daily life, and third is the suggested way to reduce it. Can you hear the picture is that it's so loud and crowded place. This is the introduction part. We know that Dhaka is the most crowded city all over the world, and it's also impact on our climate change and the global warming section. This is my background of the study. As a student, it is too difficult as myself to going outside for research purpose. So my research area is my university, JKK NIU. So I mentioned that there are two objectives of my research area. First of one is to explore and implement nature-based solution, and the second one is to mitigate noise pollution impact within the context of climate change adaptation and the resilience strategies. This is the research and the methodology topic. I used the 16 important sites of data, and I used the GIS based topic. And here is my result. First of all is the morning data, and the second one is the afternoon data, and the last one is the evening data. Okay, this is the discussion part of that, the data variation of the decibel variation and show in this picture. Okay, what we finding that this is the key finding of my research area is that this is the highest, the decibel is 95.8 decibel. It is the afternoon, the nostril Bhaskar, and the lowest is the cafeteria area 42.2 decibel. It is into the evening. Okay, this part is the way to reduce noise pollution on climate perspectives. First of all, that plant more trees to create a nature barriers, and that regulation the maintenance of the vehicle and the communities. This is the nature-based solution part of my study area is that, and this is the greenery and the vegetation, and that one is the wetland and the natural barriers to improve, and that is the urban planning and design. We have to improve our urban planning and design sector, and this is the protecting biodiversity of and its ecosystem.
And yeah, we know that climate change is a natural process, but due to our activities, anthropogenic activities, now this is harmful for human being and our environment. But nature itself always try to recover its protect the environment from the pollution or disturbance. But whenever it is beyond the capacity, nature can't do it. And in the environment, we can see always that we always continue to pollute our environment, and nature is recover it. But once upon a time, it's not possible. So nature-based solution is a very good option. In the environment, you can see because I research on soil, we continue pollute our soil, but soil recover itself. There is some very good mechanism to catch the pollutants and make them not harmful for the environment. So nature-based solution is a very good option to protect our environment. And during this presentation, we saw the various options, suggestions from the researchers in here and from in this subcontinent. And in future also we can practice, we can learn from the nature how to protect our environment. And this is a very good learning for all of us.